Morning, church, and welcome to Coffee Time with Pastor Tim. Today we start a couple weeks where I'd like to talk about being thankful. And today I want to talk about call to thanksgiving. It comes from Psalm chapter 100. And we read this: "Shout for joy to the Lord, all the earth. Worship the Lord with gladness. Come before him with joyful songs. Know that the Lord is God. It is he who made us, and we are his. We are his people, the sheep of his pasture. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. Give thanks to him and praise his name. For the Lord is good and his love endures forever. His faithfulness continues through all generations." The 100th Psalm, with its call to worship, is one of the most well-known in the Psalter. The familiarity can make it difficult for it to impact our hearts, though. In many ways, it's easier to study a passage that is way less familiar to us, because then we aren't complacent in our study. We don't assume that we already know it. We've all heard Psalm 100 1,000 times. Many pastors will be preaching on it over the next few weeks. We should never feel so comfortable with the invitation to thanksgiving that we brush over it as if it were only rhetoric. The psalm urges us into action. As God's people, we are called to joyfully worship and be thankful and praise. Make a joyful noise is an invitation to be exuberant, to have vocal adoration. Such praise should not be treated as forced or an obligation, as if we've swallowed something distinctly unpalatable. Instead, it should be a response to God's activity in our life, which leads us, to borrow a phrase from C.S. Lewis, to be surprised by joy. The opportunity to worship lifts the spirits of a genuine believer, and nobody is left out of the exhortation. God has made all the earth for the praise of his glorious grace. The invitation also beckons us to enter his courts with praise. Consider the experience of the commoner outside Buckingham Palace in London, where the best you can do is poke your nose through the railings and hope for a fleeting glimpse of the royalty from afar. The gate is purposefully closed to protect the sovereign, but that is not our experience with the Father. Jesus' death tore the temple curtain in two and opened a new way of living for us through Jesus. Through Jesus, we have gained access to the Father, and the gates are thrown wide open in welcome. Our expressions of gratitude and joyful worship and thankful praise are not to be tied to our circumstances or our feelings. The real foundation for thanksgiving is knowing that the Lord is God, and it is he who has invited us into his courts, to surround his throne as his subjects, but also as his children. To recognize this is to have a firm ground underfoot, so that each of us can say this with the psalmist: "He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to God." One day you will stand there in his courts. Until then, each Sunday you can stand there with others in your local church, an embassy of that heavenly throne room, and anticipate the future day by singing with joy to the Lord. And that's my encouragement to you, church. Whether you're driving in your car or humming at work or in church, spend time joyfully worshiping. Be exuberant about it. Are you excited about gathering together with God's people and worshiping? See, because if we go back to our first verse, make a joyful noise to the Lord, all of the earth. And when you enter his gates, enter it with thanksgiving and enter his courts with praise. So here's a couple questions for you. How is God calling you to think differently? How is God reordering my heart's affections, what I love? What is God calling me to do today as I go about my day? What is he calling you to do? Are you listening for him? Church, we need to listen and respond with worship. Thank you so much for spending a few moments with me this morning. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday. If you're ever interested in going to church, we typically have church every Sunday at Richland at 9 a.m. and McConnell at 10:30. This week, we're having service at 10:30 in McConnell, and we'd like to invite everyone to come out for lunch after that. We're going to have a harvest dinner lunch right after service. So, but next week we'll be right back to normal. But thank you so much. I hope you have a blessed day.